It starts with a young individual, full of dreams and ambition, surrounded by people they trusted, friends, family, colleagues. They were at the top of their game, full of hope for the future. But the world began to turn against them. A betrayal from someone they loved, whispers behind their back, and manipulation in the workplace. Suddenly, the floor beneath them collapsed. They lost everything: their job, their relationships, their self-esteem. The world watched, some with pity, others with amusement. But in the quietest moments of their brokenness, a fire began to burn. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Everyone expected the individual to speak out. They wanted them to defend themselves, to fight back. But the protagonist chose silence. Every word from the betrayers felt like a knife, but the silence became their weapon. They learned that in silence there was strength. Strength to heal, strength to think, and strength to plot their next move. The silence was unbearable for those who had wronged them. They tried to provoke a reaction, but there was none. The protagonist was no longer the same person. They were transforming on the outside. Everything seemed lost, but inside, a battle was raging. The protagonist struggled with feelings of anger, sadness, and a desire for revenge. They couldn't ignore the rage that bubbled up within them. Every time they thought of what had been done, a new wave of fury hit them. But slowly, they realized something. Revenge was not their path. There was a higher purpose for them, and it wasn't about bringing others down. It was about rising higher than anyone had expected. They began to focus on personal growth, mental, physical, and spiritual. Every day was a fight, but they were learning how to win in silence. One night, as they sat alone in the dark, it became clear. The betrayal, the pain, the losses, it was all part of a bigger plan. God, or fate, had removed these toxic elements from their life for a reason. They weren't meant to be dragged down by these people. They were meant to rise, to become something greater. The protagonist realized they didn't need to prove anything to anyone. The only validation that mattered was from within. With this newfound clarity, they set a plan into motion. One that would bring them back stronger than ever before. The first steps of their transformation were small. A workout routine, learning a new skill, reconnecting with old passions. But with each step, they could feel their power growing. Their energy was no longer consumed by anger. It was directed into creation. They started a business, wrote a book, or worked towards a career they had once been afraid to pursue. Every small success became a testament to their strength. And with every success, the people who had tried to destroy them watched, helpless. They didn't know what they were witnessing. A phoenix rising from the ashes. As the protagonist began to shine again, the people who had hurt them began to realize what they had lost. Their absence had become a void in the betrayers' lives. They thought they had silenced the protagonist, but now they saw the consequences of their actions. The protagonist wasn't just surviving, they were thriving. And now, those who once laughed at them were watching in awe, filled with regret. Their lives had become stagnant while the protagonist's life was flourishing. The transformation was undeniable. The protagonist was no longer the person they once were. They had transformed into someone unstoppable. They started to take control of every situation. What was once a fragile individual now stood with authority, confidence, and purpose. The people who thought they could break them now realized they had underestimated the power of resilience. The protagonist was no longer a victim of circumstances. They were a creator of their destiny. The world wasn't ready for the force they had become. News of the protagonist's success spread like wildfire. The very people who tried to destroy them couldn't ignore the fact that they had become a force of nature. Whether it was their business soaring, their health improving, or their social influence growing, the protagonist was everywhere. The ex-friends and colleagues watched from the sidelines, unable to do anything but witness the rise of someone they had once thought was finished. They couldn't escape the consequences of their actions. Karma was doing its job, and the protagonist didn't need to lift a finger. Their rise was the ultimate revenge. Just when the protagonist thought they could finally rest, a familiar face from the past tried to re-enter their life. The betrayer, now desperate, apologized. They begged for forgiveness, even offered help in their new success. But the protagonist didn't need them anymore. They had built their empire, their strength, and their peace on their own. The betrayers were nothing more than a reminder of what had once been. With a cold, calculating decision, the protagonist turned away, leaving them to watch from a distance. Their absence was the final blow. As the dust settled, the protagonist realized something even deeper. They hadn't just overcome the people who tried to destroy them. They had conquered their own inner demons. They had turned pain into power and betrayal into triumph. They stood at the peak of their success, looking down at everything they had built. The world may have tried to break them, but it had only made them stronger. And as the betrayers watched from the shadows, they understood one truth. They had underestimated the power of a person who refused to stay down. The protagonist had risen, and now they were unstoppable. Final reflection. This journey was more than a tale of revenge. It was a story of self-discovery, resilience, and the indomitable strength of the human spirit. The protagonist had not only reclaimed their life, but they had shown the world the true power of rising above adversity. This story focuses on an emotional journey of struggle, resilience, and ultimate triumph, aligning with the theme of the title. It has all the elements to resonate deeply with viewers, providing both motivation and a sense of justice that's earned through personal growth and transformation. This can definitely spark engagement, as it touches on themes of betrayal, revenge, empowerment, and self-worth.